Today we're going to talk about the early signals that dementia could be developing in your brain years before you notice any memory problems. And sign number 10, when it appears, neurologists take it very seriously. Let's start. Sign number 1, your sense of smell is fading. If you notice that your favorite foods don't smell as strong as they used to, or you can't detect subtle scents anymore, this is one of the earliest warning signs that brain degeneration has started. A groundbreaking study from the University of Chicago involving over 3,000 older adults found that those who couldn't identify at least 4 out of 5 common smells were more than twice as likely to develop dementia within 5 years. The reason this happens is that the olfactory bulb, which processes smell, is directly connected to the hippocampus, and these are some of the first brain regions affected by dementia. When these cells start dying, you lose your ability to smell, but most people just think it's normal aging or allergies, and they completely ignore this critical early warning sign.
Sign number 2, you're having trouble with your sleep patterns. This isn't just about sleeping less or waking up once in a while. We're talking about consistent sleep disruption where you can't fall asleep, your sleep quality has dramatically declined, or you're waking up multiple times every night feeling unrested. Your brain cleans itself during deep sleep through something called the glymphatic system, which flushes out toxic proteins, including the amyloid plaques associated with Alzheimer's disease. When your sleep architecture breaks down, these toxins accumulate faster than your brain can clear them out, creating a vicious cycle where poor sleep damages the brain, which then causes even worse sleep. People often dismiss this as stress or just getting older, but it's actually your brain desperately signaling that its maintenance system is failing. Sign number 3, your handwriting is getting smaller and more cramped. Look at something you wrote 5 years ago and compare it to your handwriting today. If your letters are noticeably smaller, more compressed, and harder to read, this condition called micrographia is a neurological red flag. The motor control centers in your brain, particularly the basal ganglia, are responsible for the fluid, automatic movements of writing. When these regions start degenerating, your brain loses its ability to generate the proper amplitude of movement, so everything becomes smaller and more constrained. This same mechanism affects other automatic movements, but handwriting is one of the easiest things to track and compare over time. Sign number 4, you can't multitask like you used to. Remember when you could cook dinner while helping your kids with homework and planning tomorrow's schedule all at the same time? Now you find that if someone talks to you while you're doing something, you completely lose track of what you were doing. This is because your brain's executive function, which is controlled by the frontal lobes, is starting to decline. These are the areas responsible for planning, organizing, and managing multiple streams of information simultaneously. When dementia begins developing, the prefrontal cortex loses neurons and connections, making it impossible to juggle multiple tasks. Most people just think they're getting more forgetful or distracted, but this is actually a sign that brain circuits are breaking down. Sign number 5, your arm swing when walking has changed or disappeared. Watch yourself in a mirror or store window as you walk past. Are both arms swinging naturally and symmetrically? Or is one arm barely moving? Or are both arms sort of hanging there stiff by your sides? Natural arm swing is controlled by sophisticated motor programs in your brain that run automatically without you thinking about it. When the motor cortex and basal ganglia begin degenerating, these automatic programs fail and your movements become more rigid and less fluid. This is the same mechanism that causes the shuffling gait and stooped posture we see in advanced dementia, but it starts years earlier with subtle changes in arm swing that almost nobody notices. Sign number 6, you're losing interest in hobbies and social activities you used to love. This isn't depression, although it can feel similar. You used to be excited about your weekly book club or your woodworking hobby or playing cards with friends, but now you just can't be bothered. The reason this happens is that the brain's reward system, which involves dopamine circuits in the midbrain, starts malfunctioning. When these circuits degenerate, you lose the ability to experience pleasure and anticipation from activities that used to bring you joy. Your brain is literally losing the capacity to feel motivated and engaged. People often attribute this to getting older or being tired, but it's actually a sign that critical motivational circuits in the brain are failing. Sign number 7. You're having more trouble with visual and spatial judgment. You misjudge distances when parking your car or reaching for objects. You have trouble reading or distinguishing colors. You bump into door frames or furniture more often. These problems aren't caused by your eyes getting worse. They're caused by the visual processing centers in your occipital and parietal lobes degenerating. These brain regions take the raw visual information from your eyes and make sense of it, calculating distances, understanding spatial relationships, and creating your visual map of the world. Sign number 8. You can't follow complex conversations or TV shows anymore. You used to love watching intricate mystery shows or following complicated discussions about politics or philosophy, but now you find yourself completely lost. You can't keep track of who's who or what's happening or how everything connects. This happens because the temporal lobes, which are responsible for processing complex auditory information and creating coherent narratives from sequences of events, are degenerating. Your brain is losing the ability to hold multiple pieces of information in working memory and weave them together into a meaningful story. Most people just think the shows are too complicated now, or they're too tired to focus. But this is actually a sign that language processing and semantic memory circuits are breaking down. Sign number 9. Your reaction time has slowed dramatically. You used to be quick to respond when driving or catching something that's falling, but now you notice there's a significant delay between when you see something happening and when your body responds. This isn't about your muscles getting slower. It's about your brain taking longer to process information and generate motor commands. The processing speed of your neural circuits depends on the integrity of the myelin sheaths that insulate nerve fibers and the efficiency of neurotransmitter systems. When dementia starts developing, these systems degrade, causing significant delays in information processing throughout the brain. People usually blame this on age, but processing speed shouldn't decline this dramatically unless there's actual neurodegeneration happening. Sign number 10. You're experiencing subtle personality shifts. Your family might notice that you're more irritable or suspicious or apathetic than you used to be. You might make inappropriate comments in social situations or show less empathy for others. These changes happen because the frontal lobes, which control personality, impulse control, and social judgment, are some of the first areas affected by dementia. As neurons die in these regions, you lose the sophisticated brain circuits that make you uniquely you. The person who is patient and kind might become impatient and rude. The person who is outgoing might become withdrawn. These aren't character flaws or choices. They're signs that the brain tissue responsible for personality is literally disappearing. Sign number 11. You're having trouble with familiar tasks and routines. Things you've done 1,000 times, like making your signature recipe or taking your usual route to the store, suddenly seem confusing and difficult. You have to think through each step instead of just doing it automatically. This happens because procedural memory, which stores automatic behaviors and skills, is encoded in the basal ganglia and cerebellum. When these areas degenerate, the automatic programs break down and you have to consciously think through actions that should be effortless. Most people don't recognize this as a warning sign because they can still complete the task if they focus. But the fact that it requires conscious effort instead of being automatic is the red flag. Sign number 12. You're misplacing things in bizarre locations. Not just forgetting where you put your keys, but finding your wallet in the refrigerator or your glasses in the bathroom cabinet. These strange misplacements happen because the brain circuits that link objects with their appropriate locations are breaking down. The hippocampus creates spatial maps and associations between objects and places. When it starts degenerating, these associations become scrambled,
leading to items being placed in completely illogical locations. What makes this particularly concerning is that people often can't retrace their steps or figure out their reasoning because the memory of placing the item there never properly formed in the first place. The most important thing to understand is that all of these signs appear years or even decades before anyone would diagnose dementia. By the time memory problems are obvious enough for a diagnosis, massive amounts of brain tissue have already been destroyed, and at that point, reversal becomes nearly impossible. But if you catch these early warning signs, you still have time to take action. Your brain has an incredible capacity to heal and regenerate when you give it what it needs. Proper fuel through nutrition, adequate oxygen through cardiovascular health, and most critically, constant stimulation through physical movement and mental engagement. The key is acting now, while your brain still has enough healthy tissue to mount a recovery. Once too many neurons are gone, the remaining brain cells simply don't have the resources to rebuild what's been lost. If you noticed any of these signs in yourself or someone you love, drop a comment below and let me know which one stood out to you most. And if you found this information helpful, give this video a like so more people can catch these warning signs before it's too late.